Okay, I want to make a video talking about the life lesson that I have learned this week, which is I have the core wound that I'm always doing something wrong. So this video is going to be talking a lot about attachment styles again, and if you don't know what attachment styles are, look at my previous videos. Or there's all kinds of stuff on the internet that you can read about. But there's 4 different attachment styles. There's secure, which is what we should pretty much strive to be in relationships. And then there's 3 insecure styles, which is anxious preoccupied, which is like clingy, needy, entitled, demanding people. Dismissive avoidant, which is like people who are more seen as like cold or not very affectionate or struggle with communication and like they're just not like really big into love or they don't know how to show it very well. And then there's my type, which is fearful avoidant, also known as disorganized attachment. And that's pretty much when you're kind of in between the two. Like you have anxious feelings, but you also have very avoidant feelings too. So you like go between the two, like constantly back and forth between the two. And so like it's I think it's the worst one to have personally because it's not only very confusing for other people dealing with people who have this attachment style, but it's very confusing being in it too. Because if you can imagine feeling like you're being pushed and pulled constantly of like I really want this person, but I'm scared of them. I really want a relationship, but I'm too scared of actually being in a relationship and having it work out, especially long term. Like, I don't know how to deal with that. I don't know how to make that work. I have trust issues and I'm just very much scared of being close to people and like letting my guard down and being vulnerable and like letting people know all of me and being like, I don't know if that explains it, but anyway, I was watching this video on YouTube and this girl, she's also a fearful avoidant and her videos are really good. And she made this video with a common thing that fearful avoidants have is the core wound of I'm always doing something wrong. And it was like an epiphany for me. Like I knew it, but like to have that phrase and put it in words, it's just everything clicks and makes sense. And that's one of my biggest triggers is I'm always doing something wrong. And as somebody who has been criticized their whole life, like extremely criticized, and I wonder why I have a poor self-esteem. That is definitely a big contributor because when the people that you really value their input, when they just criticize you up and down for years and years and years and years and years, you start to hear that voice in your head constantly, and the voice becomes your own voice of like, you're not good enough, you can't do it, you can't do anything right, you fuck up everything, you're a loser, you're never gonna get anywhere in life, nobody's going to love you, people only want to use you. Like all this kind of stuff, like just constantly goes every single day. I don't have that problem of criticizing people like that. I guess maybe just because I know how fucking horrible it feels. Of course I criticize people, but like not it's not a daily habit of like I need to be on people constantly criticizing. Like I don't do that because What I would say to people who feel the need to do that, the reason that you're doing that is because you're not happy with yourself, point blank. That's what it is. Because if you really were, you wouldn't feel the need to. And the thing about criticism, okay, there's constructive criticism, okay? People generally, I guess, mean well when they're criticizing, right? You can make that argument. But there's a fucking line. And so many people who criticize constantly, like that's a major part of their life. Um, there's a line that you cross when it becomes mean. It just comes flat out, it's mean. And you don't need to, if you really loved yourself, you wouldn't feel the need to say mean things that you know damn well hurt people's feelings, but you say it anyways because you feel entitled to be critical of people all the time. Like, I can't. And just be conscious of the things that you say to people. But anyways, I really feel it at work. Like I've just been paying attention at work, especially this week, of like, okay, so we have our location, we have multiple, it's a big company where I work, and we have our corporate office in another state. Well, this corporate office is like lord over all, and they think that they have the best practices, which they don't. They enforce, it's very much like tyrant like mentality of what we say goes, and you never say anything against us, and you do as we say, and even if it's freaking ass backwards and just like, and here's the thing is that our location has consistently outperformed. The numbers prove it, the reports prove it year after year, that we outshine our corporate office. Not only that, but all the other divisions, we are the top. And we literally outshine our corporate office, who is this like fancy building and fancy dancy. And they're like, again, they're like so up their own asses of like how amazing they are. But we literally, the numbers prove otherwise. And who do you think when they have problems with, they come to us every single time. So, like, anyway, I have this form that I have to deal with. Well, multiple forms, but the main ones in particular, it's a complicated form of um, maintenance on our vehicles. And I'm telling you that they find something wrong with this form of how the different shops and our vendors fill out this form. And I'm the middle person, like I'm the mediator who has to deal with all the bullshit. And so I submit these forms that the shops and the vendors fill out to our corporate office. And they reject forms like left and right. I've gotten really good at realizing what they want, and it's a very long ass list of things that they require, and so that we're compliant with the DOT. But anyways, like it's I'm telling you, they find something new like every week or every couple weeks to harp on and reject these forms for. So things that they were accepting like just a week ago and for months and years, all of a sudden it's a problem and we don't accept this and we were rejecting it and all you need to fix this. And so I have to be the mediator and like go to these shops and vendors and be like, well, they were accepting these before, but now all of a sudden it's a problem and you got to fix it and they won't accept it. And like, so my point is, I get these emails of them rejecting these forms, and this is just one tiny aspect, but this is my point of working at this company is like they're constantly on me for stuff, pointing out like rejected, did this wrong, like, and it triggers my core wound so bad of you're doing something wrong. So then I just And it's not just me. It's like I said, it's our location. They zero in on and they target. They just they're constantly, and I'm a perfectionist, okay? I hate making mistakes. I'm the first person when I make a mistake, I'm the first person to own up to it, admit, take accountability, apologize, learn from it, and never make the mistake again. Because I take that shit very seriously. I have always hated making mistakes, probably because I've been criticized so badly. But when people attack me for stuff that I didn't do wrong, it triggers me and I defend myself every time. So this is what happens at work. I'm like so often, very frequently, I have corporate on my ass for something, some situation, like all these different kinds of situations because I deal with so much at work. But I get accused of stuff like left and right when they don't know the whole story, they don't know the situation, or they just flat out are accusing me of stuff when they don't even know the details. So I keep every like freaking every email. I organize my emails very well. And I know in my mind to like remember keywords to search that shit instantly because I will defend myself every single time and I do. So, and then I feel like a freaking lawyer at work. I'm not kidding. Like, constantly having to pull up emails and chains of emails and forward it on and point out shit. And every single time I prove them wrong because I've got the literal proof to defend myself in every one of these freaking cases. Because, oh my god, it's so toxic. Like, it's such a toxic work environment. And like every week, it's just like me and my coworkers venting constantly about corporate because it's so toxic. I love my coworkers and I'm grateful to have them because if I didn't have them, I would have quit so long ago. I need to find a different job, but like, does anybody else work in environments like this? Like, I know it's pretty common in corporate America, but like, God, is it toxic? I can't believe I've almost made it 10 years now. Like, I can't. Because it just gets worse and worse. And then, like, tying into this, okay, I love to watch relationship shows. Like, there's a lot of them on Netflix. So, I've watched, what is that show called? Well, I've watched Indian Matchmaker, and I've watched, The Perfect Match, and I've watched, um, God, I cannot remember that. There's another one. It has like a lot of seasons. I think there's 3 seasons of it now, and I've watched every one. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I love watching relationship shows because I think that's the INFJ in me. Like, I love to watch relationships between people and like psychologically like analyze them all and stuff. But anyways, I'm watching this one right now called The Ultimatum. I didn't see the first season, but I'm watching the second one, and it's like lesbian couples and it's really good. Um it's also very like problematic their relationship. Um I definitely like recommend it if you like watching relationship shows too, like me. But I bring it up because there's this one woman in there, her name is Aussie, and so I like to read like various like Reddit threads about the show too, just 'cause I love seeing like um people's different views of the different couples and stuff, and um so on Reddit, like every single, like everybody, like there was hardly anybody defending this woman named Aussie, and like I'm so much like her. So I think that she has a fearful avoidant attachment. If not a fearful avoidant, she's dismissive avoidant, but she's definitely avoidant because I'm avoidant. And by the way, like all the people who issued the ultimatum on this show, like I believe all of them, as much as I have read and known about attachment styles, I believe all of those people are anxious, preoccupied people. And then um, I think most of the people who received the ultimatum, I think they are avoidant, but I would say some of them are secure. I would say actually some of them are healthy partners. Um, it's just really interesting to watch that show when you have knowledge about attachment styles because you can like really see the different styles playing out and like how they interact with each other and like you can see how insecure they are. But this woman named Aussie, so um she has this habit of whenever there's a conflict or a fight, like she runs away. So and I've said in like previous videos of mine that I have that habit. Relationships that I've been in where if there's a fight going on, like I feel the need to get out of there. If there's any kind of conflict, disagreements, like I feel the strong urge to just run away from it and not communicate about it. And that's what she does. And everybody in the Reddit thread was like reaming on her. Like everybody like she's a terrible partner. She can't communicate. She just runs away all the time. Like you can't have a relationship like that. I'm like one of the only people who's like thinking to myself, feeling kind of guilty because like I do that same behavior. And she just another thing is like in communication, just like shutting down. I do the same thing. Like I'll ignore texts or like I will just like shut down and give the cold shoulder in relationships, either if there's a conflict or if something somebody hurt my feelings and I don't want to talk about it and I don't want to tell them why they hurt my feelings. Like I know how problematic that is. I'm aware of it, but like it's very hard to fix. And so this Aussie on this show, she has like a nervous breakdown moment where she's like the friend of her partner who issued the ultimatum is sitting with her and she like well she this Aussie had just like run away from the conflict and she's outside sitting on the curb and she's like having this nervous breakdown and she just starts crying and like yelling out and she's like I'm tired of being blamed for everything. I didn't even do anything. And she's like, I didn't do shit. I didn't do shit. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. Like, oh my god. When I was watching that moment, it was so hard. I was crying. I was crying because it's so relatable. I've literally had that same breakdown. And like, you know what I mean? It's like, it was so uncanny because I had watched that video earlier in the week about how I have the wound of I always do everything wrong, and then I'm watching this woman have this nervous breakdown of like I get blamed for everything. I can't do anything right. I'm not good enough, and I didn't do anything. You know, like oh my god, I felt so bad for her, so bad. But I was, it's like so relatable, and I just And then I went straight to the Reddit threads to read after that because people had kind of changed their tune. They're all of a sudden more sympathetic to her, and like the everybody is saying now, like across the board, everybody says that she should not be in a relationship. She needs therapy. She needs to be in therapy. And like, what does that say about me then? Since I'm so much like her, like maybe because I have the same patterns in relationships, and it's really with everybody. I just that's how I am. Like I have the same repeating patterns in every relationship, and they always fail. And yeah, it's not a fun problem to have, to feel like you're always doing something wrong, always looking over your shoulder. And like another thing that ties along with this is hypervigilance. That's a trait that most, like pretty much every fearful avoidant has. If you don't know what hypervigilance means, it means that you're always scanning people, like everybody pretty much. You're always scanning people, even strangers. You're scanning for facial expressions, body language, and like tone of voice because you're trying to see if they're mad with, if they're angry at you, or if they're displeased with you. You're looking for like any little thing because if you had to grow up walking on eggshells all the time, that hypervigilance gets instilled into you because you have to. Like you have to learn to watch for like micro expressions and any little thing because you don't want to set somebody off. You don't want somebody to be mad with you and stuff. And like that's another thing that is on the show is like Aussie, she really struggles with people being mad at her, and so do I. I it's hard to deal with. Um I just I just want to run away from it. That's why I don't like conflict. And so it's so hypervigilance is so exhausting because when you grew up with having to learn that trait to like it just it doesn't go away in adulthood. It just it's still there, and if anything it strengthens. But what attachment style are you? Can you put it in the comments? I'm interested to know like my subscribers what their attachment style what their styles are, because then I'd like to see it, just like to see like how many are insecure versus insecure, and like don't lie about it. Like there's lots of different quizzes that you can take online, but like don't lie about it and be like I'm perfect and I'm secure and like when you know damn well.